Hey guys, so now it's time for you to start work on your color field artwork. You have already made your color scheme using the Adobe Color Wheel, and you've already done a little bit of research into a color field artist. So hopefully you've been inspired, and hopefully you're ready to try your own color field painting. Now, I already mentioned it to you in class, probably, but I do want to remind you that it's important that you take inspiration from, the color field painting, but that you don't try to directly copy a color field painting. And by what I mean is you shouldn't have one tab open looking at a color field painting and then try and copy that painting into your Pixlr. You also cannot actually put the image, if you can find an image of a color field painting, download that and put that into your Pixlr. You cannot do that. It is important that you do not copy, that you do not put an image into Pixlr or into any other digital art program. If you do that, if you do copy, if you do put an image in, you try to take the colors or any of the shapes or anything like that, use it as a layer, that is an automatic zero. It is important that you understand that art plagiarism, which is stealing somebody else's artwork, that is illegal. And it's important that you learn not to do that. At the same time, it is important that you learn how to take inspiration from artists. Taking little bits and pieces of an artwork, that's fine. Trying to use a similar color scheme to an artwork, that's fine. Taking their idea of using shapes, that's fine. But you need to take their ideas and then combine that with your own to make your own artwork. Okay, so that is important to remember. Now, I'm going to try not to make this video too long, but I did want to show you some techniques that you can use for your color field artwork, in addition to the tools that I showed you last week, and also the practice you got with the emphasis art assignment, where you erased one layer and desaturated another layer, and you showed the color underneath. Now, for your color field digital painting, I do want you to create a new file. So you're going to create new. Now, for this one, you do have your choice of the size that you want to use. I asked that it not be any smaller than 700 by 700 pixels. This web small would be okay, but I think a little larger would be even better. You can make it your own size if you want. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go with a Square HD. Now, the reason why I'm choosing a Square HD is because maybe I want to use it later on, on a, on a website or something like that. So I'm going to choose Square HD, but it shouldn't be any smaller than 700 by 700 pixels. And if you want to go larger, if you're thinking about, making this an actual painting that you can print out and hang up, then larger is probably better. Okay, but for me, I'm going to go ahead with this square, just to show you guys what you can do. Now, so let's say I took inspiration from Morris Louis, and I wanted to have a white background in addition to the color scheme. Can I do that? Yes, that's fine. You want to have a background color in addition to your color scheme? That's fine. I don't mind that. So I have a layer here, but I'm just going to keep that layer empty, and I'm going to add another empty layer. It's always good to have an extra layer there just in case. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this tool, the fill tool, okay? And I can fill whole areas with a single color. So I'm going to make sure that the color I'm choosing is white, okay? I have white, so I'm going to switch the color so it's up here. And I'm going to pick the fill, and I'm just going to fill that in. Just click on it and fill it in. So now I have this white square that I can use as my background, okay? So above that, I'm going to put another layer, another empty layer. And this is where I'm going to start adding my colors. So I'm going to go back and choose my first color. Hopefully you have your color scheme on a different tab, so it's easy for you to just copy and paste. But if you don't, I mean, you should still have your screenshot, so you can use that and enter in the codes. Just enter in these numbers like this is highlighted here. But if you do have it on a different tab, or you want to, re-enter the numbers, just so make it easier for you, you can do that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this code for this color, and I'm going to use that for my first color. So I'm going to go back, click on there to the color picker, and I'm going to, where this hex code is here, so you see the number sign with the FFFFF, that is the hex code for white. And so I'm just going to highlight that and Control V to paste and press OK. And that is my first color, right? So this time, you can always use the brush tool, right, to make, color lines. That's fine. You can choose a soft brush or something that you like, the size that you like. That's fine if you want to use the brush tool. And it will make, these kind of color lines. And you can play around like that, okay? But for my purposes, I'm going to use a different tool, which adds a little bit more variety to the texture that you get. So I'm going to undo that and undo that. I'm going to go right next to it, which is the pen tool, okay? And you have a lot of different variations. You have plain, sketchy, parallel, trail, shaded, furry, crayon, and ink, right? So for example, let's say I have furry, and I change the size a little bit. I think this size is fine. That's okay. Maybe I want a little bit bigger. You can change the size up here, right? And I make a mark like that. So that's what it looks like. It's a little bit different than than the brush tool. Okay, the brush tool, you can change the softness and stuff. This one is, you really can't do that. Let me show you another couple. For example, crayon, which adds some interesting texture, right? And if I go over that one more time, I can keep going over that, and it does add a lot of interesting texture for that color, which is also nice. Let me undo that. And the last one, which I'm going to use, is ink. Okay, so I'll just make a line here. Okay, you can see it's kind of like an ink pen. Okay, so let's say I like that mark. That's fine. If I want to adjust it, I can. I can make it smaller, like that if I want to. Okay, so I'll do that. I'll keep it small, and I'll add my next color. So once again, I'll go back to my Adobe tab, and this time I'll choose the screen. We'll go from the outside. Copy that, come back on the color picker, go to the hex code, paste that in. So this time I'm going to go back to the pen tool, and we'll just keep it on the same layer. I do recommend that you have lots and lots of layers. Maybe a layer for every color is good, but for our purposes right now, we'll just keep it on this same layer. And I'll show you something else you can do. So I'll make that mark like that. Okay, and that's all right. But again, I can change it a little bit if I want to. I can change the size of this, and if I did want to erase, I could. I could erase some of that if I wanted to as well on the layer. Okay, but I won't do that right now. So we have that color, and let me add another mark. Okay, so I'll go back again. I'll choose this one, this base color. I'll go back to the pen tool. Make sure I put that color in. Okay, I have my pen tool. It says only works on image layers, so I have to select another layer. That's fine, right? So I'll make another empty layer, and now I can mark again. Okay. Say I like it like that, that's fine. And we'll add one more color just for these purposes. Copy that again. Come back to the color picker. Paste. It's okay. Again, I'll make another mark. Maybe I'll change the size a little bit, make it thinner. All right, so I've added this here, okay? But let's say I wanted it on the same layer because I want to kind of adjust how this looks. So I'm going to click on this layer and I'm going to see this one here. It says merge down. I'm going to merge down. So now all this color is on the same layer and I can adjust that and make that slightly smaller if I want. Okay, if I wanted to rotate it, I could, but you have to be careful because if you look at the edge here, it kind of stops because that's it stops at the edge of the canvas, as I mentioned before. So if I did do that, then I'd have to kind of move it over like this, and then I'd lose that mark. So I don't really want to rotate it. Okay. But what I do want to show you is that you can always take this layer, and if you remember when we added, when we did the emphasis project, you can always duplicate that layer. So you can duplicate that. So it's duplicated, and now I have this same thing, okay? But what if I want to, change this a bit? Right here, it's still on this arrange tool, and if I wanted to flip horizontal, and look, so it's kind of similar to that Morris Lewis. So I've taken the color lines, the color scheme that I had, and again, I can adjust this if I want to make it slightly bigger on this side, or let's say I wanted to flip it vertical, and I wanted to put it up here like this and make it more interesting. That's fine too. I want you to play around with it. I don't want you to take exact copies from the color field artist. I want you to take your time and figure out something that works for you.